I'll never shoot on Sony.
True. I'm a Sony guy, bro.
Okay, my problem with Sony, I've still got clients who I go on their YouTube channel, I'm like, why is this in 480p? What version did you download?
Yeah.
He was like, I want a shot of each DJ, and I was like, hey, no you don't. Like, that's stupid. You want the headliner and let's bugger off, because everyone else in this club, they'll leave it.
Thank you, Calum, bro. Thank you for being on the podcast. Yeah, and thanks to everyone who's been keeping up with everything that we've been putting out. It's been a cool experience starting this podcast and, well, now continuing it. But yeah, for anyone who doesn't know who Calum is, please, bro, let them know who you are. Tell us about who you are, what you do, and your background.
Yeah, for sure. So hi, I'm Calum, and I own a production house known as LittleLegs Studio. We mainly focus on sort of always on content and helping clients have that silver lining in their branding. But on the more fun end of it, for probably more people who watch this podcast, to be honest, would be the fact that we are a network. We're a network of creatives and subcontractors that I manage and I look after and make sure they have enough work to essentially make sure they can go and live their dreams, put food on the table, go buy a red camera, whatever it is. But my thing is I want to empower creatives and I want to empower clients when it comes to content. And that's why I all got started. And my background got started initially in the real estate side of things. Awesome starting zone if you're getting started out. Lots of work, and you get to do the same thing every day. So you quickly learn your skill and hone in your craft as a service provider and how to treat clients in a high-paced environment. And then from there, moved into the corporate zone, social zone, ended up working full-time in a production house post-COVID, just due to financial reasons, to be completely transparent, as I always like to be with creatives. And then from there, decided to take the leap again, take that risk again, with a lot more on my plate this time compared to the initial leap. So that's it in a nutshell, but I'm sure we'll go into a little bit more depth as this goes on.
Yeah, cool. I didn't know that you had like a collective, or like there's a little bit of a group of you, or like a community. Are you able to share a bit more on that, or like who's in it, or what kind of stuff that you've done so far?
100%. So it's still being built for the most part. We've got a couple of really awesome subcontractors in there. I'd love to name drop, but for the most part, I don't do it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
but everyone in there is like the graphic designers. We've got animators. We've got paid social experts. A whole range of people who all have complementary services to one another. And then where I come into the picture is I make sure that for the most part, everyone's staying to the same branding, same messaging for that content. So I more become a little bit of an external marketing manager at that stage. But my background is in creating content as it is. So I've been a marketing manager historically as well. So I know very well what the struggles are for everyone. And how to better account. And essentially the goal eventually, as the collective grows, as the network grows, it will be to be able to offer things like your insurance would be covered, and we'll be able to finance equipment on your behalf to help you get to that next level. But that's very long-term goals for now.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned kind of the struggles that people would go through, because Raw and Real is essentially was created around some of the struggles and stuff that people, like creatives and stuff like yourself, like myself, would go through. So I suppose, what are kind of those struggles or things that we might face, or you might face, kind of in that business realm, kind of what you're doing as essentially what would be a content manager, or even just things that you might face just as a business owner, as a
100%.
Tell us.
Like for us, a lot of it is like, creatives like to be creative. They're not salespeople at the end of the day. It's hard to do sales. It's hard to do cold calling, and we want to solve a lot of that. It's hard to save up for equipment when you've got to put food on the table. Those things are hard. So on the creative side of things, we're trying to alleviate all of those pain points of financial, of finding business, and instead getting to focus on what they're cool at, which is being creative. I have a great deal of respect for creatives. I mean, I know when I got started, it was the hardest thing ever, trying to build a business, get a salary, but at the same time also buy equipment. But at the same time, it's the same for the clients. They want the best quality work. They want access to the best quality kit, but they don't have the budget. People just don't have the budget that, 1NZ, for example, has, or Mercury has.
Yeah.
So that's why we kind of came about. We opened into that market space of people who want to be able to do cool stuff, except we focus on, how we can make it achievable for anyone, no matter their price point. That's why we use Red Cinema cameras, but don't charge a Red Cinema rate.
True.
People would call it undercutting. I would argue that it's not, because we're not necessarily giving a full-on Hollywood experience with the wireless transmitters, but instead we're giving access to equipment that at a fraction of the rate that people can actually afford.
Wow. That's how do you compete with that? Like if you're another content creator and someone's got red cameras and you're just there with your little mirrorless camera.
You join us.
Yeah,
my
exactly.
thing is,
you learn from you.
My 2 cents on the New Zealand content industry, and I've been networking a lot since going back into freelancing, and everyone has a production house. No, I don't know one freelancer who's like, yeah, mate, I'll grab a camera and get my hands dirty. I just want to be creative. Everyone's like, oh, I'm going to own a production house because that seems to be the only way to make money. It's most definitely not. If you want to make seriously good bang for buck, go out there, do the work that production houses are selling, and work for a production house. Not everyone needs to have their own public liability and their own a kid. Come work for someone like myself. Subcontractors, so you can still turn down work. You still have control over all of that, but you take away all the liability. And instead you get to just focus on doing the really, really cool stuff that you enjoy doing. Let us do the marketing and sales, because trust me, it's shit.
Yeah, that's one thing I suppose I'd always struggle at, is just like the marketing side, even just like marketing yourself. Like for the longest time, we would, a lot of our sales and stuff, like for Mo & Co and our business, is word of mouth and just who you know, and then kind of just goes from there. But we never really put ourselves out there to like market and show what we've done until I suppose this year. That's why I started uploading a bunch of stuff, started this podcast, doing a whole bunch of things, because I was like, we actually don't show what we've done. Like I always say, man, we're so busy, and then no one ever sees what we've done. So I'm sure my mates are like, where's all the stuff you've been doing? You say you're busy, but so it's one of those
100%,
things.
100%. And I think the biggest struggle that I see every production house face is that they don't know their worth. And I don't mean that in the sense of financial worth. They don't know the worth of the content that they're creating. They don't know the time, the effort that they're taking off a marketing manager's hand. And they also don't know how to create a process or a service that necessarily does that for a marketing manager, does that for a recruitment manager, or whoever you're working for, or for an agency. How can you take all the heavy lifting off? And once again, there's something that I focus on and pride myself on is there's a client recently who reached out, hey, dude, I really want to do these dynamic sales videos, which are essentially just videos that get sent out throughout a sales process to help enhance it. That was 3 weeks ago. And he sounded like he's good to go next week. So I was like, sweet, easy as. Week came, no emails. Another week came, no emails. So I said to him, look, dude, just jump on a call. Just tell me your ideas. I'm going to write it all down for you, and I'm going to come up with your scripts. I'm not getting paid to do that. That's me bidding for a job. But instantly I've just gone, well, his biggest hurdle to entry was actually just getting the ideas on paper.
Yeah.
So how can I remove that from him? Do I give him a call while he's driving? And you have to start. It's more thinking like a salesperson, and that's why I believe that having a collective is always going to be better than trying to just wing it. Things yourself. Play to people's strengths.
No, I know what you mean, because a lot of times clients would come to us and they don't even know what they want. And you kind of almost have to either show them what they want or tell them what they want, or even just start the process so they can see, okay, I can do something with this, and then they might change it along the way. And I posted like a little reel the other day around that similar thing about how much creative kind of freedom you have versus the client's initial brief. So can you talk to that versus what you provide and what they want, and kind of where do you meet in the middle?
Yeah, for sure. I love that. So LittleLegs specializes in creating content strategies. I mean, the way that we're able to do what we do is we do sell in bulk. We sell a lot at once. But once again, in that process, we're still removing hurdles. We remove financial hurdles through our payment process. We remove barriers to entry and, considering who you're going to use for the next project throughout that process. But we actually sit down with a client. I'll spend typically about 7 hours with a client before I have even started doing any paid work or quoted them. The reason for that, and I heard this on another podcast, on the Future podcast, the idea of, I believe it's 7-11-9 or something along those lines. The average person needs 7 hours with someone before they gain trust, they have a relationship, 11 contact points, whether that's via phone, email, or ads, to consider purchasing that product. And I think it's seen them in 9 different locations as well, events, before they have 100% guaranteed of a purchase.
Yeah.
So my thought process is take them through that 7 hours, but give value through it. So we do a full strategy. We look at all of the opportunities in their business, how we can make the most amount of content. LittleLegs has something called an MCAP process, an MCAP mindset, which stands for as much content as possible. It means going to a shoot, going, we're going to do vertical, we're going to do square, and saying to a client, this is what we're thinking of today. We haven't even shot for you, and we're already thinking about all these opportunities that we have with you. But by doing that, it just gets our creative juices flowing. We build out a full-on strategy so that by the time we're done with that conversation, they're no longer considering ideas. They're going, yes, we just want to work.
Yeah.
And they have a million ideas. But it's always a very collaborative process. You have to have the client involved. You have to have their buy-in, because only then will they come to the table with more ideas than you will.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. Yeah, because I was going on your LittleLegs like website and stuff, and I did see MCAP, and I always wondered, what does MCAP stand for? And then, yeah, as much content as possible. We do something similar where we'll provide like some like main kind of video, and then have X amount of reels or shorts or something like that in between. So yeah, like providing value that way is the way to go, I suppose. Yeah.
We don't even do that. We just go everything we shoot, wide, vertical, square. There's no questions asked. We're just doing it.
Yeah.
You got to look at what the market space wants, and you just go, have it.
So then, one thing I've seen a lot is people shooting in OpenGate. Do you shoot in OpenGate, or is it what's your process so that you can capture vertical?
This is the downside of shooting on red. There's no OpenGate, and there's no the frame rate is always limited, and if you go downscale and blah blah blah, the frame rate will bug us up everything, and suddenly you're cropping on a sensor. So we always shoot in. We actually shoot on a Komodo 6K at the moment. Eventually we'll move to Raptors, etc. But typically we're shooting in 5K, as it's the only 16:9 that also does 48 frames per second. There's no 50 frames on it. Don't know why, but here we are. But for that reason, like, that's how we normally shoot. We did used to do a lot of OpenGate, and still on our B camera, so we use an XH2S from Fuji as our photo and B camera. We'll do that on OpenGate quite frequently because the 6K out of that is just gorgeous. But we try to stay around 5 and 6K so that way when we're doing that cropping, it looks fine.
Yeah. Because everything will just get downscaled anyway, pretty much, eh? Like when you go to upload it.
100%.
Yeah. So
I've never seen a client upload in full resolution or anything. I've still got clients who I go on their YouTube channel. I'm like, why is this in 480p? What version did you download? And more and more
screen recording.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had that actually, and I was like, yeah, that's
more
for
and
another
more
day.
I'm trying to help clients like steer away from doing stuff like that. And like at the end of the day, I like to think about like a builder, right? You hire a builder and you say to them, hey dude, I want the Eiffel Tower in the middle of my bathroom. They're going to turn around and laugh at you and go, that's stupid. But for some reason, when people come to us and say, hey, we want the Eiffel Tower in our video, we go, yeah, cool, we've done it. I think the creative industry in a whole just doesn't value its worth that much, and it's why UGC content can come in and swoop us over. We need to value ourselves as professionals more and more and more. So I think there's so much opportunity in that regards as well.
Yeah. It's that not old, but I suppose it's something that's been pretty prevalent now because of the rise of TikTok and everything like that. And people's got cameras in their pockets now. And yeah, like you say, UGC creators now can just film anything with their phone. And they don't need a red to promote whatever product that is anymore. So I know a lot of businesses are now turning to influencers and stuff. So how does that kind of impact what you do and your business? Like, why do they not go to you and they go to some influencer?
I mean, I've never had that issue, and the reason for it is you can have UGC content, but nobody's ever spent over $1,000 because they saw a video of a MacBook Pro. Look at the market leaders; they're still doing professional content. UGC as a place, 100%. It's one, but and this is marketing as a whole. It's one of your touch points. It's not your only touch point, and anyone who puts all their eggs in one basket for marketing is an absolute idiot. It's why we still have billboards. It's why we still have newspapers with ads in them, and we still have TVCs. It's just another touch point. It's just
it goes back to what you were saying earlier about being in all those different locations so people can see.
100%.
And you get the sale, yeah.
100%. And that is what I'm very fortunate to understand marketing, having been a marketing manager and worked in digital marketing and been trained by some of the best digital marketers in the country. But when you go through that, you value these different channels a lot more than, what your typical content creator might. So my one, to any content creator, I would always say, know your worth, but also understand that your interaction that you're going to give that client with their customer, it's going to be potentially worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to that customer. They just don't realize it yet.
I've heard that a lot, and I say that a lot too, is know your worth. How do you figure out what your worth is? Because you could think, well, my worth is I own a Red. It should be up there.
Nah, 100% not. My argument is you own, my argument for tools, and this is why I don't charge Red prices, by the way. My argument for tools is if you choose to shoot on a Sony ZV-1 or whatever it is, you choose to shoot on that is your choice. That is your choice of tool. If you choose to shoot on a Red, you choose that. That's your choice of tool. It's the equivalent of saying like a builder who comes in with a titanium hammer should charge 5 times more than the dude who comes in with a steel hammer or whatever. It's just not justified. He's choosing that hammer. Us as a client don't have a choice in that. So in terms of finding your worth is never in the equipment. What happens when that equipment breaks and you can't rep
Yeah,
one?
true. Yeah.
All of a sudden, all your worth is gone. Instead, your worth actually comes in the added value. So it's coming in and going, hey, we're off going to shoot this interview. Let's grab some photos. Oh, we're going to grab a podcast. Hey, do you guys want some headshots, or should we do some pieces to camera, or we've got some extra budget? That's where you're adding value. When you're saying to the client, we can do more. Let's do more. Let's do more. But it's not necessarily going, let's do more, and then offering, let's do a quick TikTok on my phone. It's doing more and actually genuinely providing some sort of piece of content that's going to provide value.
Yeah. It's a fine line doing that, though, I've found. Because a lot of the time I'll go over and above, or I'll undercharge. I'll charge X amount for this, but then I'll end up doing a whole lot more. But yeah, and then the client comes back and then they kind of expect the same thing. The prices are a little bit higher now. Inflation's gone up. It's a fine line doing that, but I get what you mean.
It's a fine line, but how I normally do it is I go about the route of, hey, we've rented this space, we've got an hour, let's just grab this as a one-off because we've got the time. And in the future now, let's just reduce how much time we put into this, but I'm not charging you less. Yeah. And if someone has an issue with it, I'll just turn around and say, well, look, I can do work faster than the dude next door.
Yeah.
I can edit your podcast in a day. Dude next door is going to take a week. How important is, now that you have that within a day, why should I be penalized for that? And I'm adding all this additional value in the past.
Yeah.
But for me, it's building partnerships, doing that type of stuff. Today, I had a client decline a proposal. And their client I am desperately keen to work with, I'm giving her a whole video for free. It would be about 2.5 days of my time. But I've now secured her for when the time is right for her. And time is not right today. Time is going to be right in probably about 6 months' time. Realistically, I'll see a paycheck from this. But it's one of those things that, as someone who knows business to a level, I can go, okay, cool, I know this business is going to succeed, and I know I'm going to grow as they grow. My retainer will grow as she grows. Whereas if I just went, no, okay, cool, she's going to go off and still spend that money one day.
Yeah.
I'd much rather it be with me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's get into that, though, trying to get new clients, retain clients even. What's your process, or how do you go about that? What's your thinking around that? Around
getting new clients, cold calling is the best thing on this planet. I hate it. Gives me an adrenaline rush like nothing else does.
Really?
Probably similar to like a can of Red Bull when you're like 10. Like I'll be like pacing. I'll be like, if I'm inside the house, like walking all over beds or like doing something ridiculous. But for me, I'm yet to have one cold call go sour. Everyone's pretty receptive to it. They may not need our services, but at least have a good conversation is always key, right? There's one client about 5 weeks ago. I must have cold call. We had a great conversation. Here's my first ever cold call as well.
Yeah.
So this is like a recent thing I've discovered. Great conversation, went for about 10, 15 minutes about his business. Even though I like within 20 seconds, I knew he wasn't going to sign up. He already said no to my pitch, but he's still keen to have a chat. I mean, everyone likes talking about themselves. And from there, 5 weeks later, he's keen to chat.
Nice.
And because we had a good conversation, we've got a rapport already. So then now when I'm jumping into our strategy catch-ups before he signs on for his retainer, he's in a position where he already trusts me and I know enough about his business that walking into that room, I'm confident I've got a solution for him.
Yeah.
And then in terms of retaining clients, it's once again, it's the over and the above thing, but it's also having like low hurdles, reasons for why they shouldn't cancel on you. A big one for me has been making sure as I said, bulk content up front, giving them a package that is desirable. And, you know, I can shoot probably a year's worth of content for a brand in 7 days.
Wow.
When someone does that, that's 7 days out of office for their marketing manager. That gives them, you know, whatever, you know, 52 minus, I think it's 6 sick leave days and holiday days they get nowadays. So that's giving them like the rest of the year to focus on growth and channels and whatever else they want to focus on. But when you do something like that, you're not filming 7 days straight. You're filming 7 days over a course set of months. And within that time, you build up such a great relationship. They become your mate. For me, I always try and be an in-house solution. I always try and be a mate. When we utilize any of the subcontracted network, they get involved. I want them bought in and buying into your business. I don't want them coming in and just doing a job. It's treating our clients like partners, like friends, as if we own the business. That's rare in the content world. So many businesses, I've seen some successful ones and some non-successful ones do it. They come in, they say, hey, we're the experts, we're doing it this way. What they don't realize is, yes, you look great on the outside. I have heard so many things about some of the largest production houses in New Zealand of clients just not happy because they have that ego and that attitude that comes with it. And I'm fortunate to be able to hear that and be able to then tweak it. So when I do my own stuff, you know, I can use it to my advantage. But it's interesting just seeing how people dip over time.
Yeah. True, that's crazy. Yeah, I actually don't know much about like production houses and stuff like that. So yeah, tell me what it's like working in a production house or.
Oh my days! Here comes the goss. No.
No, spill it, bro. Spill it.
No, I respect I respected my time at the production house a lot because it taught me a lot more than, you know, you can learn freelancing. What you can learn in a production house will take you 10 plus years freelancing because you're gathering so many people's experience at once. It's great. For me, working in a production house, it's definitely a different game. It's definitely the type of game I'd go back to quite happily if for any reason I can't get my own thing off the ground. It's the type of job that if you have a mortgage, it's awesome. You've got a contract.
True.
You've got a family. You can go and see them 9 to 5, you know? So working in a production house is always, you're going to have days where you work 12, 14, 16 hours, but you're also going to have days you do nothing. It's a great environment. You're around people who want to talk equipment. They want to talk customer service. They want to talk editing. They want to hype you up and do your best job. It's an awesome environment, and I only hope LittleLegs will have a similar environment one day. What I will say is if you've got an itch for freelancing, definitely don't do it. Because you're going to spend your time there and you're going to get tempted to chat to clients and solicit. And that's, I guarantee you, every production house in New Zealand would come down on you for damages. it's just not worth it. I've heard of photographers, having to pay out $10,000. I've heard of people having to pay $400,000 to a company because they went off and solicited, or they wanted to freelance on the weekend. It's just not worth it. So if you're doing it, you have to be all in. My 2 cents would be, if you're going to work for a production house, have a goal as to what you want to get out of it. For me, it was most definitely learning more about this world, and getting to be around like-minded people for a bit, and just taking a break from ownership. And as I said, would go back in a heartbeat if I had to.
Yeah. It would be a cool experience, I think, especially just working around in that environment. Like for me, I've never experienced that. I've only ever freelanced and done this kind of on the side, and then kind of only just went full time.
What I will say is, it is absolutely wild. And when you wrap, so I did quite a bit of work on the Tiger Trade TVC in 2021. It was the biggest paid media placement in the country for that year. They had 4 buses, bunch of billboards, every airport in the country, plus TV so many times a night. Did all the photo and video for it. And you go through something like that, great experience, obviously, working on set and a crew, getting to go through the edit, even got to upload it onto TV. That experience is so valuable because now I know when a customer comes to me saying, "How I want to go into TV," I'm like, cool, it's going to cost you X amount. Like, I'm sorted. But the best part of it is most definitely the wrap party.
True.
Heading uptown on that. Once you go out with the agency and the cast, you go and have your nibbles, your drinks. Everyone sort of tailors off, and the crew, we always go hard. Go have a big night. But it's those nights that you build the biggest connections, the biggest bonds.
Yeah,
with
it
one
would be,
another. And I have to be like, for me, that I will miss. It's those people, those relationships, seeing them on a daily basis. You just don't get it freelancing. Even networking, you don't.
They're your mates, eh? It's just, yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you become family
lose
to a level.
Yeah. Losing that connection, I imagine, would be.
Oh, 100%. And being able to go into someone, where I worked, we all had individual studios, being able to go into someone else's studio and sit down with them and learn how to animate or learn sound design or color grading at a level I never would be able to just, if I sat down on my computer and tried to learn it, sure, I can get a rough idea. Yeah. But my stuff's going to look like everyone else's. I'm not going to understand the theory. I can't ask a question, why is, legal IRE important? Or why is it when we upload to TV, we turn down the volume by X amount and the compression makes it look like a potato? But when you sit next to someone, you can learn all this stuff a lot quicker. So, I mean, I would recommend anyone to go and work in a production house. I wouldn't start there. I'd definitely start freelancing. But I'd definitely try and find time in your career to go and do it. Yeah.
That sounds cool. You're making me want to go and do it now. Especially just to learn, because I've only ever done this, you could say, freelancing.
Yeah.
No, that's
learning
cool.
wise, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
If we go back to how you have provide content strategy and stuff for all your clients and that, what happens when that strategy, if it happens, I'm not saying that it does, but if it happens, if that strategy falls over, if they're not receiving what they wanted?
Are you talking about as in return on investment?
Yeah. Or even if it's just they're not seeing the views or the clicks that they wanted, that type of thing. How do you approach it?
What I always say to my clients is, revisions are free. If we screwed up, it's on us. But it's to an extent. If you come to me saying I want 1 million views, I'm going to turn around and say, well, there's only 5 million in New Zealand. Why do you want 1 million views? Oh, we want 1/5 of the population to see this. You want them to see this one video? You think this one video is relatable to everyone? No. No good marketing manager or marketing person or social media manager or anyone will ever go, I'm expecting a direct ROI on content and I'm expecting it to perform. Every good marketing person understands that marketing, it's a science. It's a case of and one of my mates used this example. If you're making a zombie and you want to get the leg working and you put in a new heart and it still doesn't work, you're not then going to go put in a new heart, a new brain, new liver, new lungs, the whole shebang. You're going to keep tweaking it and working out why it's not working. And it's the same with marketing, which is why revisions are free with us. Because if you're taking that approach where we're just changing this little thing, we're changing our ad slightly, I just need this copy changed, then the changes are going to be tiny. Whereas if you're taking the approach of, okay, we're shooting content, I don't know, like X Media over in Australia, so TRG Real Estate, but now we want to be seen like Mr. Beast. Well, no, that's a new brief, my friend. So in terms of like guaranteeing results or flopping on its head, like really, it should. If it does, we're here to help. As I said, we're partners. We're partners of our clients. We're not here to just be taking money out of their pocket and going off. That after sales care is the difference between having a client tomorrow and today.
That's cool. You're so wise, bro.
Cheers, bro. Oh, wow. Owl. I'm a little owl. No. I think a lot of it, once again, comes from working in a production house. Yeah. But also the fact that, like, before I was in a production house, I worked, as I said, in real estate as a videographer. Real estate's not loyalty. Real estate is like, can you give me the best thing? And what's the price? And that's why I say everyone should start in that, not weddings. Weddings, like, you deal with your client, but they're gone after like 6 months. They're gone. They paid you. They're out the door. There might be a bit of a, like, pain in the ass on the process, but you don't have to deal with them again. Real estate, you do, because the money's not hugely great, especially when you're getting started, but you need that client tomorrow. So it teaches you to work fast, think on your feet, come up with solutions, and hone in your skill. If you're doing it every single day, you'll come up with a good factory-like process. But it'll teach you how to use a gimbal. It'll teach you how to take good photos, teach you composition and drone, which is fun. But most importantly, how to just shoot what you need so you can edit it faster. I don't think I only work with one real estate client now because it's a great bread and butter sort of money. But doing that with them now, it's just, I can go off to a shoot. I know I'm going to capture X amount in each room and I'll be done. I don't think I maybe capture 10 shots I'm not going to use.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
We funnily enough started in weddings. Now I almost refuse to do them. And it's not because they're a client and I don't see them later on, because a lot of them are just my friends and stuff. But it was one wedding, bro. It was one wedding. It just went too long for me. It was past midnight, bro, and we were still waiting to do the last dance. And I was just looking at my wife and I was just thinking, "This is the last one, eh? It's the last one." I was like, "Yeah, okay, cool." We were so tired at the end of it because it's a whole day. You've done weddings before?
I've done 2. So
you've done 2?
That exact reason is why I stopped doing weddings. So I did 2 weddings, but before that I was doing events down in the CBD, like Set 9 and Pointers. Did a heap at Pointers, doing back when drum and bass had its big takeoff. And I had one guy who was like, "I want a shot of each DJ," and I was like, "Hey, no, you don't. Like, that's stupid. You want the headliner and let's bugger off," because everyone else in this club, they're leaving. They didn't, because I was too young to realize that they're not going to leave. And everyone's probably on gear and whatnot at 4 a.m. taking Red Bull vodkas. But he's like, "I need you to stay till 4. I need you to stay till 4. Just one shot, just one shot." I was like, "Oh, dude, I can't stay up." And like at the time I didn't drink, so I wasn't even having Red Bull vodkas or anything. Like, I was just done. And I just got to the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do the late nights. I hate the late nights. So that was the thing that was the tipping point. And then I did a couple of weddings and there were late nights again. And I was like, nah, this ain't me.
So events are out for you?
I'll touch events now. The reason they're out for me then is I was getting started, didn't know my worth, $400 for a night. You're not even making minimum wage at that rate by the time you edit it the next day. Borderline the fact that you're, functioning on Red Bulls, potentially going to crash a car on the way home. Like the list is endless for the liabilities and the fact that it's not the right rate. I'll do events now. I actually really enjoy doing events. I've learned how to document them in a way that excites me. I find there's a lot of people who do events like with here's a gimbal shot and here's this and here's that. For me, it's like, no, let's just document the vibe.
Yeah.
Let's just do some handheld stuff. Let's not do all hypey. I mean, people don't really respond to that. People always forget. This is a little bit off topic.
No, go.
Those hype edits are great for views when you do one and you're the first one to do it. But it's like the Sam Colder trend when that came out.
Yeah.
Everyone was doing freaking Sam Colder. And the thing with Sam Colder is like nothing that he does is why the camera was invented. Like the whole reason the camera was invented is a psychological idea that my brain, my eyes are the camera, the sound is my surroundings. That's how we create a vibe and a feel and a lifestyle. So then you have like a whoosh, whoosh. I'm not turning my head like this when I'm walking like through a house or like looking at a car and I'm like upside down now.
Yeah,
looking at the Mercedes logo turn into a wheel. That's just not what it is. It looks cool. It's great if you're 18 and you're like, yeah, I can edit. I'm impressive. Nah. That's not what connects with people. People connect with people. Having a camera like on a long take on handheld is so organic and it's so authentic, and that content pops, and people always don't believe me, and then they do it and they're like, shit, he was right.
Yeah, you're right. There's a time and a place for a lot of that quick cuts, cool edits, masking, all that stuff. There's a time and a place for all of that stuff.
100%.
And it does fit, I think, in events, like sprinkled in, but not
sprinkled.
but not the whole thing.
Not the whole thing. Like for me, it's like the intro of the event, awesome. Maybe the outro, or during the event on the screens, because this is my thing. If I'm doing an event, I'm doing the content for everything. The screens, I'm doing the whole lot. That's the time. That's when you have that hype reel, because you're trying to hype up a room. Like, let's go. Whereas like the footage afterwards is like, okay, there's some hype here, and then maybe there's some like people doing some funny stuff, and we're just kind of trying to create a vibe.
Yeah, that's right. You think of it like music.
Yeah,
a lot of good music will take you on a ride. And it's the same how I look at video. So I started in music.
Yeah.
And the way I look at creative is a lot of how I approach music. So yeah, music and video to me, the way I look at things is exactly the same. You've got ebbs and flows, you've got dynamics, you've got creative dynamics, a lot of different things. Yeah. So that's how I approach it.
I like to take the idea that it's like being a DJ. You're taking someone on a journey.
Yeah.
I use the trick of playing a metronome at the start that's 92 beats per minute whenever I'm doing something to camera. It's psychologically proven that that's the best sort of way to talk, speed to talk at, if you want to get your point across. So I run that before an interviewer talks, and I say, just talk at this pace. And they get it. And then they go, oh, actually, no, I'm starting to understand you more. You slow down. And it's easier to take information in.
Yeah.
And the other one I do is when I'm editing, I put a metronome track above my actual track at either 120 BPM or 130, depending on like what the track is I'm going to use. And I try and read the most recent studies on psychology to work out what is the right BPM to create a hype for a specific demographic. And you can use the overlords known as ChatGPT to work that all out nowadays. But you do like little tricks like that. Not every editor does that. They like lay down the music and they're like, cool, this looks cool. I was like,
yeah, I've never heard of the metronome trick before.
Yeah,
I just use the track.
I'll tell you now, if you ever do the metronome track, it's awesome, because you never like switching music is like, yeah, right. It's not like you're like, okay, what was the beats per minute? Okay, these are your options. It's no longer like, okay, cool, we want a new track and it's some chill hop stuff and you've been using drum and bass. It's like, no, this is what we're using. But it's an awesome trick. It's one I learned at the production house, and it's saved my ass so many times.
But even the talking one, was it 92 BPM? I'm really bad for either for talking.
Yeah.
Even doing this podcast is not a challenge, but it's like one of those things where I have to consciously even remember to breathe when I talk. So sometimes I'll talk so fast that I end up breathing in and then I don't breathe out, but I breathe in again and don't breathe out.
I love it.
By the end of it, I'm like this, and I need to take a real big breath. But I need to do that. Just to slow down and kind of.
I love that.
I don't know why I do it. It's just I forget to breathe. Sometimes I'll even like look like I'm gonna cry, bro. It's embarrassing. And I if I know that's what's gonna happen, I almost warn people when I get up. So if I'm getting up in front of like a bunch of people, I'll tell them, yeah, I'm not good at this. Sorry. And then halfway through, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna cry. I'm sorry. It's not you. It's
my biggest thing for anything public speaking is like hype yourself up. I normally try and do a workout beforehand as well, because it tires me.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden it's like, I'm not going to speak fast because I can't. And that 92 beats trick is killer. It's absolutely killer. Before you go into any meeting, you just need to calm your nerves. Listen to there's a playlist on Spotify, 92 beats per minute tracks, and you just slow it down. You just enjoy it, embrace it. Trust me, the music's crap. It's not what I'd listen to, but it puts you in a good headspace. And if you get your talent doing things like that, you slow them down, you slow down production on set. And that's a big thing, eh? When you jump on, like so many people come onto location, they're like, okay, we need to get a light up there and we're going to go get the lav. Where's the talent? Oh, and they're stressing out. Well, how is that going to feel if you're a talent walking on like, oh, well, now I feel like I'm wasting this dude's time.
Yeah.
I just slow life down.
I'm bad for that. I don't do that, but for me, I want to set up as fast as possible because I don't want to waste their time. If I'm fluffing around with a light for 10 minutes, they're like, does this dude even know what he's doing? I can't even set up the light.
Yeah, but the problem
that's
you have...
why I kind of go fast, yeah.
Yeah, same, 100%. But the problem you have then is when the talent shows up, you're sitting there go, okay, let's go. And it's like, nah, this bro's just been for a run or something. Like, he hasn't been just setting up. So my thing is, I make sure, like, it's why I try and take as little equipment as possible. There's two reasons, actually. Number one is the one I posted up on my Instagram recently, and that's we want to create a nice, safe environment for our talents, especially for those who are nervous. Like, I had a talent recently who was super nervous. Dude was like a plank. Verge of panic attack, but you just chat to them. You don't even record. I'm like, I'm not recording. This light will turn on when I'm recording. Let's just have a chat, and you just chat through things. You just get to know the dude. What do you do? What do you have for breakfast? Okay, this is a bit boring. Let's move away from the schoolyard chat and let's move into like, what have you been up to today? What have you loved? What have you hated? Blah. And you have as little lights as possible. You have your key, maybe a hair light, and you just try and work to the environment. But you also get your client out of the room. Your clients don't need to be there for an interview. Holy hecker, they can watch it later. Listen around the corner, but don't stand there and try and get this dude to say what he needs to say. It's going to sound like crap. But then the other reason I travel light is because that exact reason. If I can pull up my softbox, put up the umbrella, put a light on a stand, and have the camera rolling in about 15, 20 minutes, I mean, the client's paying per project with me. They're not paying by the hour. It's in their benefit just to give me time. And I say to all my clients, hey, look, I'm going to show up. Give me like 30, 45 minutes. I'll get the best shot possible. It's going to take me a bit of time, but look, I'd much rather be doing that and have a nice, like, safe environment for your talent. And they always go, awesome, great. And I think a lot of that stems from, I filmed for a client yonks ago, I'm not going to say who, but we're filming someone and she had a panic attack and it was just this horrible situation. I'm sure HR got involved later on down the track. I felt really bad. And it just came from like the fact that there's poor communication as to what we're doing. But it's just like, there's a big rig in front of her. I mean, if you don't know cameras and there's this dude with a big lens and you can't see his face and, you know, he's sweating and, you know, puffing, I'd be scared. I'd be running the other way. Nah,
cool, bro. This last one is wise words. Now, we had a chat a little bit before about it, but yeah, essentially just I'll say a statement, you repeat the statement, and then give us your answer, bro, or your best answer, or your thoughts anyway. So repeat after me is, my one piece of advice I always give to people just starting out is...
All right, so my one piece of advice I always give out to people just starting out is focus on the fact that you are a service provider. You are not, you know, Steven Spielberg. I know you might want to be, but you're not. And you're also not credited yet. So take on what you can learn from other people. Go and assist someone. Go and, you know, help someone out. The worst thing you could do is go and try and start your own thing. Try and start a brand, because you just won't understand what it takes to start a brand, how to market and sell, let alone also do the work and complete the creative work. So to learn, go work.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. The one thing I love when it comes to working with my clients is...
The one thing I love when it comes to working with my clients is I would say is the fact that they trust me so heavily that typically we only do one revision, if not two. They know that I'm going to get to know their brand, and they trust that I know content because I trust that they know their industry and they're experts in theirs.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've seen a lot of like videos and stuff on TikTok, even around revisions and stuff, and people are like dead against it, and you should only do no revisions, or you should only have only two, not three. Yeah, I've seen a bunch of stuff like that.
That one's interesting because if you're a builder building a house and let's say the wall is off, you're going to go back and fix it. You're not going to sit there and go, I'm going to charge you extra because I screwed up.
Yeah.
Odd.
Yeah, no, you're right. The one piece of gear I always need in my bag is...
Oh, the one piece of gear I always need in my bag is probably... I'm going to say... probably like a pocket knife or something lame like that. Realistically, though, as long as I have like a mirrorless camera with a Sigma 18-35, I'm happy. Like, I feel like I could do anything. If someone called me up and said, hey, or if I'm on a holiday and I've got that camera... Someone's going to ring me up and said, hey, we just want to grab an interview 5 minutes down the road. I could shoot down, grab an interview, do the audio on my iPhone or something, chuck it through Adobe Audition and be pretty all right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the cool thing, eh? Like you don't know how creative you can be unless you're real limited to what you've got. I've done that before.
Limitation is the absolute key to amazing creation.
Yeah. And that's that old thing, like Māori ingenuity comes into it, or even just Kiwi ingenuity. Like, yeah, I've had to record audio on my phone before just because that was all I had. I literally had just a camera, and then I made a mic from some old headphones. I cut the headphone part off and just left the mic, plugged the mic into my phone. I said, hey, just this in your pocket. Yeah, clipped it on. Okay, sweet, here we go, and filmed it.
I remember seeing hacks for like, use your iPod Touch as a lav mic. It'll be like, clip the mic. I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's my only set of earbuds.
Yeah.
White ones, so I look cool. Like, I really like those.
Yeah. I went out and literally bought a like the cheapest things I could find with a mic and just cut it, and this works.
The old snip.
Yeah. The one thing I've learned that has always stuck with me is...
The one thing that I've learned that has always stuck with me is be honest with clients if you're not going to hit a deadline. So many people like freak out when there's a deadline. Nobody's died because you didn't deliver a video on time. And trust me, nobody's freaking out when, Pizza Hut's going to release its next TBC if it's not out on time. Deadlines are more there just for progression. They're not really there for, it needs to be here today. If you're not going to hit it, be honest up front. Hey, just heads up, we've just hit a bit of a hurdle. I've had some stuff going on. Any chance we can push this out? But yeah, that'd be the one thing I learned.
Yeah, that's cool. My one signature shot I always have to get in my content is...
Ooh, my one signature shot I always have to get in my content would probably be... It's become the interview to camera. Nightmare of a shot to get as well. That, or I've started getting into ultra wide interviews where I'm just placing person in scene. Between those two, I love interviews, and those are the two go-tos at this stage.
Yeah. My biggest regret in this creative journey is...
My biggest regret would be selling all my equipment and buying more equipment and getting just too invested in equipment. Quick story, because I know it's quick rounds, but I had Fuji X-T4 and X-T3, the full range of like the XF glass, which is like the top of the range, all the way from 8mm to 170 at f2.8. Cost me an absolute fortune. Sold it all to get a Sony A7S III and the full range of Sigmas, and then ultimately that lasted like 4 weeks, and then ended up working at the production house, and ultimately I possibly would have kept it later on if I didn't. Sold that all to then buy an X-T4 again with a bunch of prime glass, which I then sold again and had an XE4, and now I'm on an XH2S and now on a Red, and it's just like too many systems. So earlier on, I wish I stuck with one type of glass. Like, I bought the 18-35 twice now. I wish I just never sold it in the first place. So stick with your glass. But don't buy mounts that aren't hugely interchangeable. So I'd be going like EF or PL would be my only two mounts I'd personally buy. I'll never shoot on Sony.
True. I'm a Sony guy, bro.
So what don't you like about Sony? Okay, my problem with Sony, and I had this chat actually I've had this chat with a lot of cinematographers recently. My biggest problem with Sony is the Sony bros that come with Sony. The whole FX3 is an amazing camera, or the A7S3 was revolutionary. Yeah, hey, it was. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but the colors are they're not awful. I'll take that back. They're not great. Their highlight roll off looks video. It looks video, and if anyone wants to come at me and say it's cinematic, it's not. If you want cinematic, you got to go on a Red. You got to go on an RE. And the closest thing to those two cameras that I've ever found are the Canon Cinema range. They have a really nice soft highlight roll off, and so do the Fujis, which is why I went Fuji. And that's not me just going, it looks that way. There are tests that prove this.
Yeah.
Sony are just they're not great with light, being a high sensor. Whereas like a Red loves light. Give it more light. So
Yeah.
just as personal preference. At the end of the day, as I said, a tool's a tool. Whatever tool you use to get the job done is what you use to get it done. However, if it's a Sony, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't say anything. Yeah.
No, as I said though, they're great cameras.
Yeah.
If you can shoot on a Sony, get a great image, and your clients are happy, then who cares what you shoot on?
True.
It's just for me, I find that it's not the look that I like. And I find that I can pick Sony footage out of a pack easier than I can pick any other brand.
Yeah. True. I'll have to look into a lot of those other systems though, because I've been just a Sony guy for just the longest time, just because that's what I know. I think
It's what
the hardest
YouTube
thing is
sold you.
switching. The hardest thing is switching to like.
Don't switch.
So my wife uses Canon,
Yeah.
and when I use her cameras, it's just navigating it all.
Yeah, but have you seen the color of those puppies?
Yeah, it does look good. I have to admit, it does look good.
Like the amount of Sony bros who chuck dehancer on it and all that crap. It's like, nah, dude. If your camera cannot shoot a gorgeous Rec 709, the sensor was never good. The Red, you shoot it in Rec 709, you add some contrast saturation, looks gorgeous. Fuji, same thing. Z cams even looks incredible. Blackmagic looks incredible. It's just Sony. I'd put Panasonic possibly in that bucket, and Nikon just have really harsh highlight roll-offs if you clip them. And the difference between their 100 IRE and about 90 is just, it's very drastic, I find. Whereas with those other brands, especially with the Red, because you can choose it, but I just find you can fine tune it a little bit better.
Yeah. This last one, and I'm curious to know, the next step in my creative journey is...
Next step in my creative journey is to blow this puppy up. Please keep that in context. LittleLegs will be it's going to be one of New Zealand's larger production houses eventually with subcontractors. It will grow. It sounds cocky, but I'm confident that because I'm such a people person, I'm so focused on making sure that the creatives have what they need, but the clients do too. I mean, it's such a passion project that it's hard for it to fail. I didn't take the risk again to let it flop.
Yeah.
So for me, the next thing will be most likely hiring a salesperson, account manager, and getting an office. And then from there, it'll be, hiring some full-time creatives and eventually getting either an investor on board or giving everyone shares. To be honest, it'd probably be shares. Making sure everyone in my business has some sort of a share of the business. I'm not a big fan of the idea that business owner gets all the shares because they took the risk. Yeah, they took the risk, but your employees take the risk every single day, just relying on you for a paycheck.
Yeah.
So you need to respect that. Give them some shares, get them intrigued in the business. So when we lose a client, it's we lost a client. It's not me.
No, that's cool, bro. I just really want to thank you for your time. Thank you for jumping on the podcast with me onto Raw and Real. I'm not too sure which episode this will be. But thank you.
We'll see where it sits in the pipeline.
Yeah. No. I do. I really want to thank you. You've provided a lot of value, a lot of insight into just your kind of area, space within the creative space. Because there's a ton of stuff that I didn't even know, especially about working in like a production house and stuff. your opinions on Sony. Hey, I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to say anything. But nah, you've been amazing. Thank you.
I can only have an opinion because I own a Red now. Before it was like
enough.
just a Fuji boy having a go at Sony.
Fair enough.
So I think I've got creds now, but previously I could have taken that back.
Nah, cool. But that is the podcast. Thank you guys if you've stuck with us this long. And if you want to follow Calum's journey, I'll stick all of his socials down in the description. But thanks once again. And thank you, Calum, once again too.
Thanks. Much love.